we're now seeing a report that Bitcoin has hit an all-time high in capacity on the Lightning Network. And what we're talking about with the Lightning Network, of course, is the layer 2 scaling solution that has been developed, and honestly, you have to remember, is still being developed. It is still very, very young technology that is that we're working on. And when we say that there is an all-time high in Bitcoin capacity, what we're talking about is the amount of Bitcoin that's in a channel. Because what you have to do is you send your Bitcoin through channels, and that channel that you send it through has to have the capacity within it to match the amount that you're trying to send in very, very short form terms. There's a lot more to it. So every channel, if you're going to send a small amount, usually a small amount of Bitcoin, you need to send it through a channel or maybe even several channels, hops, to get to the final destination. And the more channels there are, the more opportunities there are for you to find a channel that will send your transaction. And the more capacity that there is within those channels means that more Lightning Network value can be sent through the network. So when we say right now that there is capacity, right now there is 4,496 Bitcoins and change being locked in various channels. We're talking that is spread out over 8,679 channels and 17,125 nodes. Those are the hot points, shall we say, that verify what's going on inside the Lightning Network and send the transactions through the channels. The average amount that you're going to see is about a $1,500 capacity. That's the median capacity for every channel. So you can send about that much through most of the channels. So that's where we are with our Bitcoin capacity in the Lightning Network, and it's a pretty good metric when it comes to figuring out what the sort of the vote of confidence that Bitcoin users have right now in the Lightning Network. So let's see who wants to talk about that. Will?
Yeah, I'll snag it from you. I'm actually sort of interested why they decided to write this article, because if you look at Lightning capacity over time with the amount of Bitcoin in these locked channels, it's basically up and to the right since the beginning. Like, there's been some dips, there's been some points where people pull out capacity from Lightning, but at the same time, mostly people use Lightning basically to hodl Bitcoin. They put it onto a Lightning wallet, they put it into a Lightning channel, sort of sits there. Maybe if they're really adventurous, they'll start routing payments on behalf of other users. The other stuff we look at is maybe there's like exchanges that build on top of Lightning, or there's like these Lightning wallets that keep open capacity on their channels. And so you don't really see like Bitcoin leave the Lightning Network. You normally see it move there and then stay there. That being said, there has been a lot of increasing capacity over the last 2 years. It's sort of been like a silent story out there. A lot of Bitcoiners like to talk about it, but nobody else really pays attention to it. And this locked Bitcoin and Lightning really mirrors what we see in the growth of DeFi over the last 2 years, where there's been a lot of Ethereum, a lot of different tokens locked in these DeFi protocols. And over time, they've both just sort of increased. So to me, this is just more of a story about there's a lot of scaling technologies coming to different blockchains, and people are starting to have actually more confidence in them. But that is about it to me. Zach, I'll throw it up to you.
Yeah, I guess the question is, like, are people actually using this more, right? Are people actually using Bitcoin for micropayments as was originally envisioned by the Lightning Network, or is it just a vehicle to hodl? I think that's actually the interesting question. I actually don't have enough data on that one to give it an answer. So I'll toss it to Wendy, because I think that, again, is like the promise of the Lightning Network. It's like, let's make payments the thing that Bitcoin is all about. And yet over the last couple of years, Bitcoin as an asset rather than a means of transacting has sort of seemingly displaced that. So I don't know. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
I think it kind of depends where we're at in the cycle. Like, people's opinions and narratives change over time, depending on where we are in the world. And I think the cool thing about Bitcoin is if you want to use it for micropayments, great. If you want to use a Lightning Network, great. If you want to use the original network, great. If you want to hodl it, fantastic. You pretty much get to do whatever it is you want to do. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's a little bit different than traditional finance, because with traditional finance, we're kind of stuck and forced to use banks. But with Bitcoin, we do have options. And I'm excited to see what the developers are going to continue to create, especially those NFTs on Bitcoin, because I love seeing people bicker back and forth about it. And realistically, should they bicker back and forth without it? Because when I think of Bitcoin, I think of education of the monetary system, and I think about freedom and liberty.